Hello and welcome back to the Communication Queen podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, and I am so honored and excited to be here with the amazing, talented Rachel Lee, who is the branding badass. As you can tell by her visual backdrop, she knows what she's doing. And one of the things that Rachel and I initially bonded over were just the random synchronicities of the fact that my husband's best known for his voicing Shinji in Neon Genesis, the anime, and she is an anime fan, and her company is called Neo Genesis, but it has nothing to do with Evangelion. Rachel, welcome to the Communication Queen podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be diving in with you today.
Brand visibility, and so many people want to have a cohesive looking brand. And one of the things that people who have come to us have been concerned with, not everybody, but they're like, you're very yes queen and bright and bold and in your face. And they're like, that's not my brand. How do you navigate how to really fully express someone else's brand so that it's not you interpreting through your own language, but you are really actually fluent in the visual elements of that other person's brand?
That's a great question. I find that this is a skill that I'm going to have to say I spent my whole lifetime perfecting. I know we usually use words to communicate. That's something that comes naturally to us. Thankfully, growing up, I was the art kid, and I could say I was born with a crayon in my hand and learning how to express and communicate using visuals in a very different way. And so I get to say I speak fluently in pixels, fonts, and colors. And thankfully, with my background, where I studied communication design in school, and I'm well versed in the psychology behind how we communicate non-verbally. And so when it comes to helping my clients basically capture and communicate their brand using visuals in a vibe that's completely unique to them, the trick is to actually get a very accurate snapshot of the thing that lives in their brain. I often tell my clients, I am just acting as translator, and my ability to get an end result for you, it highly depends on the clarity that you have that's inside your brain. And so most of the time, honestly, I spend really getting into my client's head and understanding, what's this idea that you really want to put out into the world? What do you really want to be saying yourself? What are some things that you want to put out there that you might be scared of doing because you're doing this for the very first time? But we're going to do the brave thing, and we're going to find a way to put that out there anyway. So we go there. We talk about the things that they want to put out, the things that they might be scared of, the things that maybe they tried putting out there and it totally backfired and they're embarrassed about it. Those things that you put out where you're like, oh, I'm low key embarrassed, but I got to put something out. So here you go, world. We talk about all of those things. And the cool part about my process is I actually get my clients to submit their own pictures and graphics and visuals of things that they personally like. So I actually leave no room left to assumption instead of getting my clients to just describe to me what they want. Because, for example, if I say fun and you say fun, the thing that pops up in our head could be completely different, but nobody will ever know, right? So there's limitations when it comes to the English language of when you say things visually, it could be interpreted in so many different ways. So as part of my process, I actually tell my clients, just show me the damn thing is basically what it is. Send me pictures of things that just make you light up, make you smile every time you see it. So I know exactly what it is that you're going for, because sometimes words do fail us when it comes to communicating. And I just have to look at the damn thing to know exactly what it is that you're trying to communicate. So it's a combination of all of those things, but a lot of it just goes down to really, really understanding what my client's trying to communicate and then using my technical expertise in visually communicating that to be able to say, based on what you're trying to put out, I feel like these colors would be the best fit to communicate this side of your brand and also this side of your brand. Here are the fonts that best capture your personality and help carry that tone of voice that you're trying to use because of whatever shape or curve of the letters, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't get too technical, but it's a combination of all of those things.
I love the fact that you highlighted on how people misinterpret words and how one person's fun has a completely different picture. And in NLP, one of the things we learn early on in just basic practitioner course, and NLP is neuro linguistic programming, that people have auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and auditory digital representational systems. And we all have a lead representational system in the way in which we experience the world. And a lot of my clients who come to me, they're highly auditory and they're highly kinesthetic. They feel a brand, but they don't necessarily know how to get it into a visual without the use of the picture. So I love the fact that you leverage, say, like, show me the specificity, and you translate that for them into the pixels and the fonts and the colors. I think that you're dealing with someone who you see their brand and you know it's 90% there. What do you commonly notice are the things that they need to change to communicate so that it gets to that 100%? This is their identity. It's stripped of what I call the plagiarized programming of how you should do your business, life, brand, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. What's cool is we all do a lot of networking online. And so it's very easy to notice that disconnect when you first connect with someone. I naturally like to stalk people online. I like to check out all of your stuff. I'm going to snoop all of your posts. I'm going to check out your website. Nothing is safe for me because I'm curious. I want to get to know you before I actually talk to you. Kind of like how you should be doing that before you just say yes to dating anyone. You got to check out their stuff. And so
Google
I
them.
naturally do that. You got to Google them. Exactly. Like, is there some dark, shady past that I should know about before I say yes to sitting across the dinner table from you, sort of thing? And so I stitched together a picture of what someone's like based on what I see online. And then I have that image in my mind as I go into the Zoom call for the very first time. Oftentimes I find that most people, it's not terrible. Like, they do a pretty good job of communicating. I'd say around 50 to 75% of what they're like. Like, the picture kind of sort of looks like them. Maybe it's like a younger, more touched up version of it. Typically, that's what happens. Smiling in a suit. Maybe they pop up on Zoom and they're just in a t-shirt, right? Like, small, tiny little differences. Where I find the disconnect usually is that the online presence, it's often the professional side. Obviously, we're on LinkedIn when we connect and or other professional platforms. So it's the shiny, polished professional face that we like to put out. This is like business Rachel. This is business Kim, right? That's the side that they put out. And it's not that they don't have their personality on there, but it's very muted. So oftentimes the last 25 to 50% I get on Zoom. And then I usually get a sense of like, oh my gosh, you've got like this wicked sense of humor, or like your energy is off the charts. And then I compare it to this image that I originally came into the call with. And then I can kind of start to put two and two together where I could see, oh, you managed to capture this aspect of your personality or your identity very well. But from the actual interaction, I get the sense that they might be either holding back or not interested in communicating the other part, which I often find is the most interesting part. That's the sad thing. We put the most professional side of us out, but it's often not the most interesting stuff. Of course, we all know we're professionals, but what I want to know about you is like, what are your weird quirks? What are the things that, like, those tiny little points of connection? Like, for us, like, you saw the name of my business and you're like, I need to talk to this girl. Like, what does she do? Like, those tiny little points of connection, I feel like that's where the gold is, and often where people miss out because they haven't found a good way to communicate it. Maybe they've tried it, it's just not coming across, or maybe they haven't gotten to a place where they're comfortable with it yet, and they're holding back because they're afraid that if people saw that part, they would think that they're unprofessional. So it's a variety of different reasons, but I'd say about 25 to 50% of what people actually are, it just doesn't reflect accurately when you check them out online.
What are some examples of like those things that you're like, ooh, that's really interesting about you, and you had to translate that into the visual identity of their brand?
Yes. So one of my clients, she is just starting up her consulting business. She has a long-standing background working in culture for big tech companies. So think Slack and Airbnb, and helping the teams within those organizations figure out their culture so they can actually work like a team and get things done. On paper, the stuff that she does, it's already interesting, but what she hasn't gotten around to communicating in a professional sense is she's a long distance solo motorcycle rider, female too. So badass. I know she travels the world by herself on her motorcycle. And she's originally from Vancouver, where I am, but she spends half of her time in Mexico. She's setting up a co-working space down there for digital nomads, and she just travels around going on crazy adventures. I'm like, who is this badass lady? And then on the other side, she's having these crazy conversations with big companies about like, how can we be intentional with getting people to actually work like a team and create a supportive environment that gets the work done and meets the bottom line for the company, but also honors and takes care of the people within the organization. And she draws from her experiences, just experiencing cultures as she does her traveling, and brings those experiences with her into her work. And so that is like one of my clients, for example, and she was only able to capture and communicate the professional side of, I work with big tech companies. And I'm like, no, there's so much gold that we're missing right here. We got to tell people you travel. We got to tell people like all of those other things. And so that's an example of how one of those things that we found that was missing. And through a lot of the conversations that we've had, we found a way to use colors and shapes in a very creative way to communicate the vibrancy of her personal background and the vibrancy that she brings with her into often these very straitjacket, sterile types of corporate situations. And so I think we employed color the most heavily in her brand, very intentionally choosing certain colors that captured hints of her deep passion for the country of Mexico and her involvement in that community. Also, just like some colors that were a throwback to her time. I think her favorite company was Slack. And so we kind of did like a spin-off, like inspired by Slack's original brand colors. And we found a way to kind of put the two together and using creative shapes and opacity to overlap certain shapes to imply the work she does is about helping people come together and find those areas of overlap in between. So I know it's hard to kind of visualize if I don't have a visual, but
Yeah.
that's technically that's how we translated some of those parts into her brand.
Love that. I mean, Rachel, one of the questions that I have whenever I'm onboarding any client is, what is something unique, weird, different that only your best friends know about you? And the answers that I've gotten that we've implemented into podcast pitches and like structured into our clients' bios, I can't tell you how many times I get podcasters saying that was one of the best pitches or that was one of the best bios that I've read. And it's because it's got this unique juice to it. It's got something that's special. I've been on about over 250 podcast interviews. And consistently, one of the lines from my bio, which is from the age of 5 on the streets of suburbia selling bags of glitter water to, to Miss Congeniality and all that, I'm able to, like, that's a very clear visual linguistic picture of like little young entrepreneur Kimberly's going around with her plastic bags of glitter water, which is just water with glitter in it. Like, that's just what it is.
That's hilarious.
It allows for that visual imagery. I mean, one of my favorites was one of my clients who said she would risk life and limb to pet a cute dog. And I was like, oh, going in every bio, you know that. Because those things make people interesting and they make people relatable too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny. I try to dig those things up when I work with my clients because just to your point, those are the most interesting things about you. And those are actually the things that people connect over. Oftentimes, the thing that we are the most insecure about, that is the best asset for your marketing. Oftentimes, we are our first client as well. So the things that we overcame, the things that we struggled with in our past before we found the solution, that is like gold for the marketing. People want to know about those things because nowadays we want to work with people that we know, like, and trust. If people can see that you have been through the same thing as them, 10 times more likely they're going to work with you because they're like, she gets it. She's not going to shame me for being in this position because she understands and she's going to help me feel safe as I go through the same process. They know it's not just Rachel read a textbook and came up with a method and then now she's doing what she's doing. It's like, oh no, Rachel lived through the thing. She did the thing for herself. used yourself as a guinea pig. And then she decided, oh, there's something good here. I'm going to decide to help people with it. It's that is the gold in the journey. And that's how people come to trust you as a service provider.
Was your insecurity that you had to overcome in creating your own business and brand?
Oh man. I think one of the funny things is when you look at me, I look like I belong in high school. I still have people to this day who are like, oh, like what school do you go to? I'm like, school? I haven't been in school in like a very long time. But it's because I've got the Asian genes. I turned 31 this year, but I don't look like it. And so when I first started my business, I was 24. Imagine extra baby face Rachel trying to go out without any experience in business too, trying to feel like I needed to present myself a certain way to get people to trust me with their money. I felt like I needed to present this version of myself that I honestly wasn't in order to get people to trust me. I've always felt deeply insecure about the fact that I look a lot younger than my age in the world of business in the earlier years. It felt like a setback for me. I'm like, no, I want people to take me seriously. But the moment I get onto college, they're like, how cute. What school are you in? And I'm like, no, like that's not the first thing that I want you to be thinking about when we engage in a conversation. And so for the longest time, I tried to dress up. I would put on a lot of makeup. I would like dress super professionally. I would even tone down my enthusiasm and my joy to be, because in my mind, I thought like, grown up people are serious. And so I would prevent myself from smiling. And when I respond to people, like I would be super duper serious, really, really formal in an attempt to put out this version of me that I thought other people wanted to see. Needless to say, I mean, you see my setup now, you see the way that I am. I've come to realize that this is actually one of my greatest assets, that people worked with me because they liked my young energy. They loved the playfulness. And it turns out a lot of the clients I work with, they want help with infusing that energy into their brand in some way or another. And they just like to see the fully unhinged version of it with the way that I show up now. But it took a long time for me to come to a place where I was comfortable with that. I had to first accept that, okay, well, this is just what we're going to have to work with. But it turns out this is the thing that people actually wanted to see. And this whole time I had been trying to hide it because I thought that it was actually a setback. Turns out that it wasn't. And it was actually what the people wanted this whole time.
Love that you bring that to light, because I had the same problem at 24. I became the president of an e-commerce company, and I was surrounded by older men constantly. My business partner was 40 years older than I was. Our manufacturing partners older. And so by the time at the end of 2 years, after I was bought out, I started Crown Yourself, and I was going to do a photo shoot. Looked at my wardrobe, and my whole vibe that I wanted for Crown Yourself for my coaching company was this like powered, sparkly, girly, feminine, but also in her queenly like presence energy. And I looked at my wardrobe and I go, God, who have I become? Secondly, I have to hire a stylist because I don't own any of the clothes that I actually like.
That's crazy. Wow.
Like these compromises that we make in order to fit in versus we actually belong. And I feel like when there's like a level of self-acceptance, quite frankly, of like, no, this is who I am. Hashtag greatest showman. This is me. Like, here I am.
Yeah.
This is what I'm bringing to the table. And because you want to work with me, because this is what I'm bringing to the table. And when I became a mother, that's when I like literally stopped caring what other people thought of me.
I hear that is quite common, actually. And I feel like in a weird way, it's actually the best because that's when you are your most comfortable self. You got to get really comfortable with yourself in order to put yourself out there. And it turns out that's actually the version that people want to see. I think we've gotten to that point where people are tired of seeing the perfectly put together, plasticky, super Photoshop, airbrush version of you. People want to see the mess because they're like, I need to know that you're real in order for me to trust you. And so I feel like as the trends are swinging, it's not saying that we should all show up as like a hot pile of mess. Do your best to clean up, but they want it real. That's the most important thing. They want to see you doing your best despite everything that might be going on in your life and still kicking ass even when you're tired. Maybe you're on your period. Maybe you're sick. Maybe your kids are all sick and you're starting to get sick too, but you're still showing up and doing your best to kick ass. That's what people want to see despite all of the things you might be dealing with in life.
True. So true. I think of, especially now that we're entering to this age of AI, and like I see AI posts, and AI profile shots. And at first it's like fun. It's like, oh, cute AI doctored photo of me. But then it's like, at the same time, it's like, no, that's still not me. That's still not fully real. And what you do, Rachel, is even more valuable as we enter into the world of AI, because people are going to want to know that there's a human behind this and not just some bureaucratic, like robot centered company that's doesn't actually have any humans that say, you know what, I actually care about putting your best interests at heart.
Exactly. It's about humanizing brands. And I feel like when it comes to the perspective I have, especially when it comes to personal branding, I know personal branding is a buzzword that's thrown around. A lot of people think it means like getting rich and famous. That people, when I say I do personal branding, they're like, oh, so you help people look good online. And I'm like, I mean, I guess that's what it looks like, but the deeper conversation is more about, well, we're in a day and age when everyone has to be online, whether they like it or not. And whether you like it or not, people are searching you up because they're curious. So knowing all of these things, personal branding is just about being more intentional in the way you package and communicate yourself. Like people are looking you up anyway. Why not be more in control of that narrative? Say what you want to say about yourself rather than having nothing on and leaving all of that up to assumption. Why not? And it's a blank canvas. We all know it's unsustainable to put out this face that isn't really you. It's like mask on, mask off. Like we've all tried that in some capacity in our lives. It's hella exhausting. I don't think anybody would say that's the way to
Tiring.
go. It's not worth it. And so the best way to go about using these platforms is, of course, we're all going to want to put our best foot forward. But if you think about your online persona as this is a way that you can use to create deep connections with people in your life, to make new friends, to reach more people who might need your help, you would want to present yourself as honestly as possible because that's what people are connecting with. Nobody connects with somebody who's perfect. We all got crap in our lives that we're trying to sort out. We follow the people who are dealing with their stuff, but they're still shining and showing up and kicking ass anyway. Those are the people that we follow. And so the perspective I have on personal branding, it isn't about putting up a shiny, polished face. It could look polished. I'm not saying that everything has to be a mess, but it needs to be intentional. And so what you post up, it needs to be exactly what you want to say about yourself. And as long as you have the intention as the North Point on your compass, then your brand's going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love that. I call it the perfection paradigm. I wrote
Yeah.
about it in my book, Make Every Podcast Want You, because there's this paradigm that took place that I got to witness as a loving spectator back in 2013 when Jennifer Lawrence and Anne Hathaway were both going for the Oscars. You know, both incredibly talented actresses, both incredibly gifted in their fields. And the press just like loved Jennifer Lawrence, and and there she was like flipping off the cameras, eating burgers. And Anne Hathaway was just like picturesque, like picture like Audrey Hepburn style actress, just always put together, always, you know, looking amazing, saying the right things, and the press eviscerated her. They absolutely destroyed her. And I think it's honestly, whether it was her PR team or whatever, but it was that perception because Jennifer Lawrence came off as human. Anne Hathaway came off as
Yeah.
perfect. And subconsciously, when we see something that's perfect, that's not acknowledging of a hot mess. Like you do your best during those hot mess days, but you're saying you can still say there's problems, there's challenge. We're still lifing. We're all still doing life.
Yeah.
When we can
Yeah.
acknowledge that as part of our brand, and not that we are the one who gives out the almighty guru advice, but we are like, you know, we've got
Yeah.
some things figured out. There may be other areas that we're still working on, but when we
Yeah.
can show the humanness, actually it builds more trust than when people see something perfect. They're subconsciously, they're like, what's wrong with her? Like what's actually going
Yeah,
on? Because when we put the mask
exactly.
on, even if we think, oh, this is the should thing, this is the thing that I should be doing, that mask is on. Subconsciously, you have a mask on, and the audience may kind of guess possibly something's up. They may not know exactly what it is. Unconsciously, we speak the language of emotions and we see it. And I think what I have loved, Rachel, about your branding and like diving into your body of work, and which is what you've done for your clients, and the absolute beautiful transformations that look nothing like your brand, they look like their brand enhanced,
Yeah.
is how
Yeah.
you have communicated so many facets and parts, and you put so much intention and detail behind every single aspect of what you're creating so that the brand is reflected in its highest level of integrity.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I talk about branding all day long. And one of the things that I think is different from the way that I just perceive brands is I know there's a lot of amazing designers. I'm not the best designer out there. There's so many people who are better than me at my craft. But when it comes to specifically translating on behalf of my clients, because I've gone through my transformation myself, I understand the weight of responsibility. When somebody raises their hand and says, I want to work on my branding, I know that they might be however many years they've been on this planet. Maybe they're 50 years old and they're daring to show their face on the internet for the very first time. I understand the weight of that responsibility when they say, I want you to help me with figuring out how I want to do this thing. And this thing for them is scary. This is intimidating. This is their whole public reputation. They're like, if I hire the wrong person or if I do the wrong thing, I could chase away all of my clients and not be able to put food on the table. I understand the weight of the responsibility that I have. So when I work with my clients, I'm holding all of that. And I understand that the work we're doing, it's not just a pixel facelift. I know some people might see it as that, but I understand it's the level deeper. We get to have the conversation around how you want to be showing up. The fancy stuff that you see, that's a byproduct of the time that we have together. Honestly, I like to say the part that my clients are paying for is to have this space where we get to talk about the things that they're scared about, but really want to be putting out into the world. And I can't create brands for my clients that look that good unless they're willing to go the distance with me. And some of the brands, you feel the spectrum because my clients, they were able to tell me, they're like, here's the good stuff. Here's the stuff that I'm still working on, but I want to put all of those out. Is there a way we can communicate both sides of the coin in equal parts and still have people love me enough to say yes to purchase my services and products? Like, we have to have that conversation in order for the end product to look as good as it does. Because I'm just a translator at the end of the day. I'm not interested in making stuff up for my clients. And if you come in and you bring something super shallow, basically vanilla, I don't know how else to say it. If you bring in something very surface level, very vanilla, I'm only going to be able to translate what you give me. So the brand's gonna look like that because I'm just translating on behalf of you. And so I know this is like a super crazy tangent, but I feel like what the clients bring to the table and their ability to communicate that effectively with me is what results in the powerful end product. I co-create the brands with my clients. I can't say I do it on my own. I need their input at every single part of the process. And so I get to say I build brands together with my clients because I'm just a translator at the end of the day. You're the one with the message.
That's the biggest piece, is the honesty on the client side. And I
Yeah.
hear constantly from podcasters, from our readers, that they love and respect consistently the honesty and integrity. Like when you come in and you're like, here's the light, here's all the things I do amazing, things I'm working
Yeah.
on, here's the things I can get better at. And even things that are in real time. Now, not obviously like what I tell our clients is like, if you're like, let's say you're a business coach and you have a certain amount of like tax debt or something that you need to handle, maybe that's not the thing that you publicly share until you've overcome. We're still working on your communication, be able to share that you are still human. And because you are still living this human life, we still have fumbles and foibles, but we have to be honest. We cannot lead from a place that's not truth telling, because people will feel it visually. They'll feel it physically.
Yeah.
They'll feel it in the sound of your voice and in how people build trust.
Exactly, exactly. And one thing that I have tested over the years is kind of getting ahead of the curve with telling people about things that I'm excited about building and then involving them in the process and in the conversation. And so I often like to tell my audience, like, hey guys, guess what? I just had an idea. I really want to try this. I'm going to keep you posted as I actually implement it. And it's kind of like when you watch a show, they always leave you on a cliffhanger, and then there's like the next episode, and people tune in, especially when it's not like a replay, like they're releasing it live, so you actually have to wait for the next episode. That's actually the kind of consistency that people like with the brand, where they actually get to voice their input too. Like sometimes when I share an idea or something I'm about to do, people respond and they might put in their ideas. They would just tell me they're really excited. And then the next story I post out, immediately everybody clicks on that because they're like, what did she do now? Like, did she start doing the thing? And then as you share it, naturally there's drama because nothing ever goes according to plan. And so you share the good things. You're like, I'm working on this. And then, oh gosh, something went wrong. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do about that. And then people get to consistently tune in and be involved and be a part of the process. I find that people actually really enjoy that. And so, of course, like, have very clear boundaries in your own personal life around what you do or don't want to share. But when you get to a point where you feel comfortable doing that and very like solid in what you want to be putting onto the internet, then it becomes a very cool dynamic where you get to actively involve your audience. What you're putting out, it's kind of like in real time. Here's what I'm up to today, guys, and here's what I'm working on. And then it feels like a very natural flow of conversation. You put out, they pour in, you put out, they pour in. And then there's no need to put up a face because people are actively engaged in you becoming and you doing the thing.
Oh, mic drop, Rachel, right there. That's actively engaged in your becoming. Damn. Oh, that was a mic drop for sure. I'm going to pivot into your becoming and in how you have and what you're leaning into in your marketing strategy and in your communication strategy and beyond, with all of the changes of AI and communication and all those early adoption tools that I think in some ways they've been a little bastardized and overused. I mean, I tell you, if I see another exciting news post on LinkedIn, we're going to have a field day.
I know what you mean. It's hard where I feel like with the introduction of AI, I see a lot of stuff on my feed that is being posted by people that I know, but we all honestly know it doesn't really come from them. It's generated through the machine. And it's weird to say that with the introduction of all of this amazing and exciting new technology, it's weird to say that the work that I do doesn't change. It just becomes more important. It's like just having real conversations with people, telling them where I'm at. Like, for example, like 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, my 98-year-old grandpa passed. And I I told people about it. I told it from the perspective of, hey guys, so something's up with my grandpa and I might need to be with family for the next few weeks. So I might not be as present on social, but I'll keep you guys posted with updates as much as I can. I gave people a heads up. And then as things rolled out and as I had space to share, I would share updates once in a while. And then people were so on board for the ride. They would be like, hey, Rachel, hope you're doing okay. Like, sending you good vibes. And as I go through the process, it allows us to have a good conversation. And so that's a part of how I've constructed my brand, where I guess I could say people come to expect that of me. They're like, Rachel's going to share the cool random stuff she's up to. She's going to share random cat videos, small little haha moments throughout the day. But when something happens, we know Rachel's going to talk about it because that's just the relationship that we have with her. And so I feel like with the introduction of all of these things, it's kind of like I just want to double down on doing what I've always been doing and maybe even just get more consistent in doing that. I feel like the hardest thing about social media is that it does take time to share from your heart. You have to create space for it. It's not part of like the social media calendar of every week I'm going to post out this one business thing at this point in time. Like we all have that kind of calendar set up. For me, the way that I use social media, controversial to what most marketing gurus would say, I only share the things that are really present and exciting for me on the spot. There is no planning involved because I'm living life in real time and I want to capture and share all of it. And I find that that's where the goodness is. And so it's weird for me to say because I'm in the world of marketing. I don't have that kind of strategy. I mean, I just turned 30, so I'm in the process of becoming, and I'm just here to capture and share the messiness of all of it. Once in a while, when something cool and exciting happens for the biz, of course, I'm going to share it with everyone. But when it comes to the way that I use social media as a platform to connect with people, I don't think the introduction of all of these new technologies changes. In fact, it just enforces the way that I do things, and it helps me realize the value and the bravery that it takes for people to show up and be like, here's what's actually going on in my life. Not scripted, not really planned, all the hot, glorious mess, but here we are. And then we all get to celebrate that together. That's the perspective that I have on social media. Funny enough, I don't think it's going to be changing anytime soon, despite all of the new technological advances that are happening right now.
I think you said something great about having the space, how important it is to like create that heart space for creation, not just like, let me just pump this out and be another cog in the machine, but really being intentional, and not just intentional. You've used a word multiple times about relationship, and it's something that I harp on all the time with my coaching clients. As far as, and same with our consulting clients and podcasting, I'm like, build the relationship. That's where the gold is at. And the more robotic the world becomes, the more we get used to leveraging and using tools. I think there's nothing wrong with the world of robots until they, take over. Like, and, Terminator.
Yes, and then enslave us. Yeah, all of that
until
stuff.
that point. But
yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. But that being said, like, I think you want to use a tool, but don't let the tool use you. And when tools start to take you away from operating inside of your heart space of intentionality and the depth of relationships, which is where the goodness is at. Surface is in, like, speed is great, but depth is where that's a superpower. And I just having known you for such a short while, like I see that is where you thrive, is in building those high quality, high caliber relationships. So
absolutely. Yeah.
You start out a relationship just like dating. Those initial moments, they can be kind of awkward. How do you navigate the awkwardness of the networking, but not necessarily always looking for your next client networking?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a huge reframe that you have to make in your mind when you go into a setting where it's like speed dating. Like I meet a lot of new people every single day, to the point where on my busiest call days, if you ask me who I talked to just 30 minutes before, I would not be able to bring up their name. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like this, but it's just, we meet so many people that even if we want it to be intentional, sometimes it's just really difficult because of sheer volume. And so a very helpful way that I've been able to help myself preserve the humanness amidst all of this networking is to reframe networking in my mind of, okay, yes, we're here to explore business opportunities, but I'm just here to make new friends. I'm here to meet cool people who are doing cool things on this planet. Even if there's literally nothing that we could do with each other from a business sense, if I know a good person and I know there's a shortage of good people on this planet, I count that as a win in my books. And so when I go in and I'm literally like, I want to like you. It's the frame of mind that I go into every conversation with. I'm like, tell me about you. Tell me about all the weird, crazy things. Like, how did you start your business? What are you working on? How can I support you? I'm like, in my mind, I'm literally saying, I want to like you. Please give me reason to. And it's sad to say sometimes that doesn't end up happening because maybe like I'm coming in being like, I'm here to make a new friend. How can we help each other? And then the other person's being like, I'm prospecting. Are you a lead? If not, get out of my space. And so naturally, if we're not coming in on the same page, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm going to like you. But I do meet so many cool people, and a lot of business opportunities that I end up getting, it comes out of those conversations where we're just shooting the shit. We're getting to know each other. Like, we're having fun. We don't even talk about anything about the business, but we find out we like each other. And then a few months down the line, they send me an email. They're like, "Hey, Rachel, one of my clients needs help with their branding. I think you're the perfect fit. I'm going to send them your way." Like, that's how my business has run to this day. But I think it's the best way to go, where like we only want to work with people that we trust. Oftentimes I feel like all of the business stuff, if you want that info, go check out my website. For the time that I have together with a human, I'm like, I want to get to know you. I want to have some laughs. I want to have a good time. And that makes those conversations memorable. It breaks the ice, and it already like boosts the trust factor. For the rest of the business stuff, if it's something that happens naturally, it always does. And I've done this enough to know that the right opportunities always follow through at the right time. You don't have to force it, because the more you force it, the worse it gets.
So true. The more like the forcing, and I think times in the beginning, because we have a lot of business owners at all spectrums, but in the beginning of starting anything new, and this is especially what I've seen with business owners who have started something, built it, scaled it, and then they're starting something else that's new. And when you're starting, when you're a new again, sometimes new at stepping out from the shadows of your own business brand into your personal brand and your authentic voice, there is that fear of the newness of being seen. And I love your framing in, I'm just going to meet a really cool human today. I want to know like what makes you a cool human, and that your website, your Instagram, your social media, you can look at that if you want the content. Like, go listen to the podcast. I'll direct you in the right direction. But trusting that in the space of building a relationship, there's really looking for those mutual points of interest where you can build from, rather than looking for just the prospecting. Because I think when you're just prospecting, and I know because I did it, because I was told to do it by a business coach like years ago when it started. I mean, I think we've all done it. And I was like, do it wrong, and you mess up, and you feel super salesy, and you feel gross, and you're like, you feel like a one night stand, and you're like, all right.
Well, it's like trying to get into bed before that you even decide if you like each other. It's like that same feeling. And you feel weird and icky. And unfortunately, it's hard, because for the business, you're like, I do have to pay the bills. And when cash is tight, especially if you're in those early stages, it's so hard to go into conversations where in your mind, you're like, there might be an opportunity here, but it's hard when your timing is tight and you're like, my needs are not met. And this conversation might be the deal breaker. I think we've all been in a position like that before. And it's so important that, like, despite all of the things that is going on, because I know what it's like to run a business with debt. Like, I ran my business with debt for the first 5 years, ended up declaring bankruptcy, and then coming out the other side. And I talked about it. I posted about it on social media. It was one of those, I think that was the scariest post I've ever made, even scarier than announcing the relaunch of my own personal brand. I think the scariest post I've ever made was publicly telling my whole entire network, even my parents saw, like all of that. I'm like, okay, guys, I just shed $130,000 worth of debt, and I'm still running my business. Like, it was the scariest post I ever made. I'm so glad that I did it, though. Like, only positive things came out of it. And if people didn't have good things to say, they were kind enough to decide not to make a comment on that post. So, yeah.
Way to just deliver the bravery. So I would love to know, what did you love about this conversation, Rachel, as we wrap this up?
The fact that we got to nerd out over things that are really important for us to talk about, that I don't think are talked about nearly enough in the world of business. Like, when I speak on podcasts, oftentimes the focus is on, like, how do we revamp the branding so we can get more clients? I love the fact that we just got to talk about the people. The people is why we do everything. We run our businesses to support people in different capacities. And I love the fact that we just got to focus on that for this conversation. People like to look at all of the beautiful, flashy stuff. And yes, it's still there, but at the heart of it, it's just a translation and a communication of the thing that's deeper. It's about supporting good people. It's about taking care of your relationships. It's about becoming a better person yourself, and not being afraid of capturing and sharing that in real time, because I think what people don't realize is people want to see you. They want to see you in all of the stuff, even in your hot mess state. People want to see you, and you're actually doing a service by sharing with people, because amidst all of the things that I've shared, constantly I get feedback from people who say, "Hey, Rachel, thank you for sharing that thing. I wanted to talk to you about this because I'm actually struggling with the same thing too." And it opens doors for so many conversations. I don't even know. I don't anticipate who reaches out to me, but I think it's the best way to operate as a human being and also as a business owner. In today's day and age where AI is taking over everything, I personally think this is the only way to go.
Human you are, the more set you are for the future. I love it. Rachel, I have loved our conversation, and I would love for our audience to follow you, engage with you. Obviously, I'm sending people your way because you are just such a badass at what you do, and you do it so beautifully and succinctly. One should go get their branding done with you, truly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, if you guys want to find me, I mostly hang out on Instagram. I'll make sure that my links are available. My handle is the same across all platforms. It's Rachel T.Y. Lee, T.Y. because those are the initials of my middle name. If you just search up Rachel Lee, I promise you're going to get a whole bunch of different other people. But I'm also on LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn is a place where a lot of people are and prefer to connect. So Instagram or LinkedIn, I'm heavily involved in both platforms. But I'll make sure that a link to my website is available as well. And I also check my inbox every day. So if you really want to get in touch and need to get in touch fast, just shoot me an email.
Saying, as always, my fellow communication queens, stand out and let your voice be heard. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.